All right, guys, let me try this video again. I recorded it once and it was like an hour long, and I guess my audio was not working. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about crypto and the war conflict. Based on the news I could read today, it looks like Iran shot 300 missiles towards Israel yesterday. And the news is saying that most of those missiles were intercepted and shot down by the US, the UK, and Israel. Uh, and so far, there's no deaths. I think there's one injury. That's what the news is saying. So even though this all-out conflict happened yesterday and the market looked like it was going to zero, uh, the initial attack wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. Now, what we need to take into consideration is that Iran said that they did this in retaliation because Israel bombed a building beside their embassy, and they were doing it to just kind of like do an eye for an eye type of situation. The news is saying that so far Iran said they don't intend on making another attack, and they're advising that Israel just take the attack and leave it alone and not further escalate it. So at this moment, it's possible that this conflict could be resolved based on the news that I'm hearing, but we also have to see what Israel does and actually just see what happens in general overall. But at this moment, there's no deaths, and the majority, most of those 300 missiles were shot down. So now let's look at the charts. And what I want to say is, with technical analysis, when we have such a catalyst that a lot of technical analysis doesn't work, but so the only thing we have to base it on is inflow and outflow of shares, right? Buy and sell demand. And how you identify that is through volume bars and the ADL line, okay? But on a technical basis, let's just take a look. So let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, I consider it a health indicator of the market, right? As long as Bitcoin plays the game, everything else gets to play. But when Bitcoin becomes unstable, everything becomes unstable. It's the same thing with SPY and QQQ and the ETFs for equities. So even though the world was ending yesterday, we have to take a few things into consideration. One is our entire trade thesis for the crypto rally has not even been invalidated. Even though the world was ending, we didn't even trip the 59,800. We actually didn't even trip this low of 60,700, right? Now this is a pivot low, which this doesn't invalidate the thesis of an ABCDE correction, or maybe this is even an ABC, right? Now, I do think if we were to start printing under 59,800, this could tell us that this entire market crash is just getting started. So we do need to be cognizant of that, right? So if 59,000 is given up, it's very probable that we could go to 50 to 53,000. And if we already have this kind of crash from these levels, other stocks could drop another 30 to 50% to 60% at the current levels if we give this level up. So we need to be cognizant of that. But at the moment, let's just break it down. So we weren't even able to break this valid level, and the entire trade thesis for Bitcoin is still valid. Now, given with the smaller companies like miners and stuff, it's easy for technical analysis to break, but not as easy as like a leader of a sector, right? So even though Riot and Mara broke down their levels Friday, they actually didn't invalidate 1450 and the 860 with Riot. It just broke our original trade thesis. So they could be discounted, and realistically, it could actually go to those levels or the extremely oversold levels where it drops another 40, 60%, but we need to see what happens. Now, let's look at two other things. One is, look at the volume bar, right? If the world was ending yesterday, what would have happened is smart money would have unloaded, and they would have said, no. Even at this price of 61,000, like, if Wall Street thinks that we're going to 50 to 53,000 or even like 40,000, right? What they would have said is, no, even at 61,000, I'm ready to get out. I want to unload because I know we're going lower, right? But even when the world was ending yesterday, this volume bar is not abnormal. This volume bar is lower than this volume bar, right? Actually, it's about the same, but it's lower than this volume bar, this volume bar, this one, this one, this one, this one. it is not even abnormal to these volume bars over here. It's actually lower, right? And the world wasn't ending over here, right? That's what we have to take into consideration. This is inflow versus outflow. This is what that concept is. So even though the world was ending and the move down was drastic, it was on low volume, right? This is the concept of a low volume pullback, which is bullish, right? Um, Something else to consider is the average range of a daily candle, right? So an average range of a daily candle kind of represents the natural move from the day high and the day low. Okay, and if you look at this, how big was this candle? This was a 10% candle, right? Well, what about this candle over here? 9%, right? What about this candle over here? 11.5%. What about this candle over here? 11%. How about this one? 17%. How about this one? 13%. This The world was ending yesterday, but this candle is not even abnormal to any of this, right? That's just normal volatility of Bitcoin, right? Since March, in the last 2 months, we have more candles that are bigger than this on higher volume, right? On higher volume, on higher volume, on higher volume. So even though the world was ending, this doesn't look like unloading to me. This doesn't look like distribution. This doesn't look like I'm heading for the door. I need to get the fuck out. This looks like manipulation. This looks like low volume pullback and then buy it up. Let's look on the ADL line. What's the ADL line showing us? I see sideways consolidation, accumulation, a breakout above a downtrend, a back test, and a higher high. Well, it's not necessarily a higher high, but we're going higher right here, right? Like it literally back tested this. Like that's crazy. There you go. It's a little bit better. Like, you think that's a coincidence? No, it's calculated. This is formulas. This is algos. What's this telling us right here? At the current price of 64,300, Wall Street has accumulated as many shares as they were at this pivot low. What was this closing price? 69,100. You can see it right here on the closing price. Wall Street currently has more shares right now that's been accumulated than this pivot low of 69,100. How far is 69,000 away? 7%. So they just discounted the price at 7% and they have more shares. But guess what? If they were to press the buy algo here and go back up there, this would slingshot past them. And the price that they had the amount of shares that they had at 69,000 will be up here, right? They'll have way more shares at the same price that was over here. What about over here on these levels? This closing price was 71,200. What about this one? 70,800. How far is that away? 10%. They discounted these prices, right? The ADL line is showing this. The volume bars is showing this. The average daily range. Let's look on the minute candles. Let's just see what happened here. What happened here? The majority of this move happened in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, they were able to drop price, 10%, 8%, and then buy all those shares back over time and then press the buyout. And then what they said was, oh, shares are discounted. Now they accumulated and got the shares that they sold back. And then they pressed the buy algo for a 7% retracement up to the upside and said, I'll buy all of these shares. Thank you. Come again. What does this tell me? That right here was Wall Street. Then they capitulated and then retail started selling. Individuals started selling. They panicked and then Wall Street started buying the shares back up. Right? What's happening currently? This could be a bear flag, right? Right now, it's a rising, ascending support. But if we break below this and then backtest and then go lower, it's possible, right? And if World War III happens, it's possible that price keeps going discounted. But right now, what this tells us is even though price is discounted, they're buying the shares. This doesn't mean that this cycle has ended. The cycle hasn't ended. They're just discounting the shares. And this is like the perfect fuckery Wall Street would perform before a bull market. Discount stocks 50% and then press the buy algo and literally buy every share all the way back up. Right? Panic everyone. This is a buy side imbalance. This entire drop overall was on low volume, and on the minute candles, you can see a buy side imbalance. You can see that more shares were bought than sold. That's what this tells me, right? And that's Bitcoin, right? The thesis is not even invalidated. Let's go down some more, right? Let's look at Ethereum. Now, I thought that maybe this was an ABC, something of that nature, but it ended up being A, B, C, right? How big was this drop? This drop was 23%, 24%. And since this is C wave, you have to look on a smaller time frame because it was such a drastic sell-off. But this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or an ABC. Kind of looks like a 5 wave to me. But I was thinking that maybe this was wave 1, and then this would be an extended wave 3. So that this is like wave 1, 2, all that stuff, right? But this drop has invalidated all of those theses. But the normal thesis would have been that this is wave 3, right? And then this is wave 4, and then this is wave 5. So that's what this looks like. And what is the rules for that? Is if we take this pivot low of wave 2 and the pivot high of wave 3, then wave 4 should not extend past the 50% retracement. Where did we stop at, right? We stopped right above the 50% retracement inside a demand zone. Now, given this was a demand zone too, and this is a demand zone, so it kind of gets choppy as demand zones overlap, but we can see an obvious response here with a bottom wick, right? A bottom wick. What about the daily candle? This daily candle is half the volume of all of these volume bars over here. Look at this, half the volume of that, half the volume, half the volume. It's not an abnormal volume bar. The world was ending yesterday, wasn't it? Isn't that what they were telling us? But this isn't abnormal volume. This isn't running for the door. This isn't Wall Street saying, no, I need to get out even at 2,800. What they said is, I need to discount price. I need to buy those shares up. That's what's happening currently, right? Where are we bouncing? Demand zone, 50% retracement, 100-day moving average. And you can see historically, I've said this in another video that in a bull market, between the 50 and 200-day moving average is typical for a dip buy opportunity. And this is the 100 and 200. You can see historically through all the cycles, right? This between the 100 and 200, dip buy, dip buy, dip buy, right? Dip buy. Where did we go? Higher, right? What did the 100-day moving average essentially do? It supported, 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 supported. And then when we started basing under, it was the change of the trend, right? Especially when you start really accepting under the 200. Then what happens? They start becoming resistance, right? Resistance, resistance, right? Try to support it here. Support, support, resistance, support, 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 right? Support, support, resistance, resistance, support, support. Through all the cycles, what's happening here? We got support here. What's it currently trying to do? It's trying to support it. Now, I also said in that one video that this would be like the super good buy opportunity because this is, major demand zone. But right now, there's 3 technicals of confluence right here that says that this could be a bottom. It's currently being defended. It's the first time it hit it, right? We haven't really been able to get too much opportunity. So this tells us that we're at the beginning of it. All of these are fanned out. So we should support here, right? Now it's possible we go down here, right? It is. But right now, what's it giving us? It's saying, no, this is good. This wide body candle, on low volume pullback, what's this candle doing? This is a bullish candle and we're almost at that volume already, right? Both of them are bottom wicks. It says, no, there's buy demand in these bottom wicks. Wicks represent when the body of the candle is when a lot of shares are traded in that range, and then the wick is when very small amount of shares are traded in that range. What that says is right here, around $3,000, under $3,000, there's a lot of buy demand, right? Let's look at the ADL line. What's happening? The ADL line is currently higher than this ADL line, right? This pivot low. What was the price at this pivot low? 3,500, right? So we currently have more shares than this pivot. Wall Street currently has more shares than this pivot. And 3,500 is how far away? 14%. So they've accumulated more shares at a 14% discount, right? This doesn't look like distribution to me. This looks like consolidation. Look at this, accumulation, like up and down, buy shares at a lower price, sell them higher, starting to cause a range. Now there's a small downtrend here, and mainly this pivot low would be very important because you can see straight buy algo initiated. So if we start printing under this pivot low, then I would be concerned. But right now, there's more shares at a discounted price. What's it show us on the minute candle? Same thing on Bitcoin, right? Look at that. It took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 10 candles, 10-minute candles, right? 10 minutes worth of candles, 10 minutes worth of volume to discount this price drastically and then buy all those shares back at a discount price. That's what they did, right? Got the 30-minute candle, right? Bottom of candles, sideways consolidation. This volume bar is just as high as this one, right? But the world's ending. This looks like accumulation to me. It really does. Fell into we broke all the like previous levels, and we fell into like the most oversold condition, right? The worst case scenario played out for the best case scenario buy opportunity. That's what this looks like to me. Now, given if the war escalates and it gets worse, then they could discount the price more. But even during the state of discounting, it doesn't look like the cycle's over. Otherwise, this would have been lower. As they went higher, they would have been unloading the shares, going lower, because they don't want to hold this many shares. They want to crash it for multiple months and then discount it and then buy shares at a cheaper price. No, the accumulation is maintaining near all-time highs, right? That's what that's telling me. That's a clean looking ABC. That looks like wave 4 right now. Like that's the idea of wave 4, and that could be the risk to reward, right? If we start printing under 2,800, then we know what's the risk at that 8%. But what was it at the literally max pessimism last night? Less than 1% away. It was 1% away. If the shorts wanted to, if Wall Street wanted to get out, they would have invalidated this, right? Because then it would have turned bulls into bears, right? This would invalidate L8 wave theory. So now it's like, okay, I think we're going lower, right? So then what happens? We sell. So what do? They buy it up before. XRP, worst case scenario, broke all this shit, right? So obviously that's not 5 wave. This part overall, like how far of a drop is this? 34%. 34% discount, right? With chump change of shares traded, right? Not abnormal at all. Not abnormal at all, right? Now, the average daily range is abnormal, but on low volume, right? Where do we land? Worst case scenario for best case buy opportunity. Monthly demand, right? Go to the monthly chart. Monthly demand candle. All of this is consolidation. This is a lot of shares traded, right? This creates a massive range of support. Where we fall, right? Wicking into off of monthly demand off of the 100-day monthly moving average that is upward sloping, right? Where also did we fall? We fell and bounced off of the anchored VWAP. The anchored VWAP from June 2022. The anchored VWAP, what this light blue line represents is the average price of all the shares traded since June 2022. If we start accepting under this price, what that means is the average person who has bought since June 2022 is underwater. That's what that represents, right? So it's a really good indicator for a line in the sand, very often for a trend. So this is the worst case scenario where we're bouncing monthly demand, 100-day monthly moving average off the anchored VWAP, right? Into a very obvious ABC. That looks like A, that looks like B. This is a hyperextended wave C, right? A, B, C, right? Straight fuckery on low volume, right? They've already bought half those shares back at this discounted range right here. This discounted range of a bottom of 46 and 49.8 of a 7% range, they've already bought half those shares back at a 19% plus discount. Like, even though the world's ending, like the inflow and outflow, the demand here, right? It's not adding up. It looks like manipulation. It looks like Walmart looks like Wall Street capitalizing on an opportunity to discount prices for the next cycle, right? Look at this. Look at that. Look at the volume, right? And then what happens? Sideways consolidation. Buy all those shares back. Drop this price in just a few minutes of shares traded, and then spent hours sideways buying all the shares back, and then some, right? Let's look at the ADL line. What's the ADL line showing us? It's showing us, a range is starting to develop. Now there's some lower highs here, but this pivot low is very important, right? I think if we started printing under this pivot low, that would kind of tell us that more distribution is happening. What's happening so far? Descending resistance, breakout backtest higher, right? That's what that's showing us. Let's look at the price differences, right? So currently we have as many shares as, we have more shares than this pivot low. What was that price? 61 cents. How far is that away? 25% away. They have more shares accumulated at a 25% discount, right? They have more shares than this low, right? What's that low? 58 cents, right? This is sideways accumulation at discount price. You know, if they were trying to get out, they would have less shares. They would sell more, right? What do we have? 40% retracement on a daily candle, on low volume. You know, this doesn't look like distribution to me. This doesn't look like Wall Street's heading for the doors. This looks like, hey, let me discount the price and buy all the shares back up. Let me fuck over retail. There's a war. Let me do some illegal shit while people are distracted. That's what that looks like to me, right? Litecoin. Worst case scenario for the best case buying opportunity. ABC, massively oversold. Where we're respecting. Right now, we're trying to be supported on the daily moving averages, the 200, right? What happened with the 200 in previous cycles? Right, support, 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 resistance, resistance. Now it's an SR flip. Are we going to support it? Right? Weekly demand, fell into weekly demand. Worst case buy scenario for best case buy opportunity, right? If that's what this is this is very likely a finish wave one, and this is wave two, right? What about the volume bars, right? Not higher than this one, not higher than this one, not higher than this one. There was no war over here, right? There was no war over here. How about here? Nope, right? Not abnormal for Litecoin. 40% retracement on the volume bars, right? Buy demand came in here. There's a lot of buyers from here down. From 77 and under says, nope, we like this price. Let's buy it all up. That's what that's telling us. What's the ADL line showing us, right? Looks like a little bit of, you know, sideways or downtrend, right? As we make lower lows. But now what are we at? We're at higher than this pivot low. What was this pivot low? $97. So currently Wall Street has more shares at $78 than they did at $97. So what did they get? They got a 24% discount. They went shopping yesterday. They capitulated retail, right? And then Wall Street bought it up. Currently in this demand zone of ADL, right? And I'm going to assume that we're going to break this trend soon, right? There we go. Already breaking above it. Now, obviously, the daily candle close matters, but right now, even, you know, crypto's starting to rally some even more, right? Like, this looks like fuckery, dude. It really did. This looks like straight manipulation. What does the 1 minute candle show us? Same thing, right? Massive discount on low volume, right? Massive discount. And then near the bottom, buy volume steps in, right? Bought up all these shares at a discounted price, right? From the low, it instantly retraced 11%. Sorry, more than that, 13%, right? Discounted shares, that's what they did. What about Sol? Same thing, right? Now, given this chart is just like, it's hard to trust something that's up 2,000%, 2,500%, right? Like that's a lot of hopium. This isn't a chart I would fuck with, but you know, if you believe in it, you believe in it. But what's it doing, right? I think this is a finished 5 wave. So even if this, like this could be an ABC correction, and we could go high from here, right? But I wouldn't think so. I would think we go lower. I would think this happens like an ABC correction here, and then it makes a lower low, right? And then this is a finished wave one to a larger degree, and then we go down to like the 60 to 78 maybe, or maybe just the 61, right? As this is a monthly demand zone, right? It's very unlikely, to be honest, that we get under a monthly demand zone. It's a lot of consolidation. But what happened here, right? Now this is a big volume bar, but 40% retracement on the bottom wick, right? But is it abnormal? No, right? It's not that abnormal. There's other volume bars that are similar to this, right? It's not that abnormal. Where did we fall? 100 daily moving average. Now this could be considered a massive daily demand, right? And so far it's respecting that. Now this is a monthly and we're right above it, but this is a daily demand above a monthly demand. And then you also have to consider, the level of exhaustion, down 27% as one of the bigger crypto coins. Can it really drop 40% in 1 or 2 days without finding support? It's usually not the case. Let's look at, see if we got anything here. Look at that. Price is discounted, but the shares remain higher than all of this, right? There's more shares accumulated. Also, look at that, triple bottom. 1, 2, 3. 3 levels of support showing that this is respected. This is an SR flip right here. Support, support. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5. 5 taps on this line, telling us that they like the idea of keeping 17,956 million shares. That's what this is telling us. Now they have more shares accumulated than this high of $180. They have more shares accumulated than this high of 181. More shares. They're about the same shares of this close of $194. Right? What's that look like? On the current price? What does that look like? 188, 32%, 194, 38%. They have more shares accumulated at a 38% discount. That's fuckery. That's manipulation. That's what this is telling me, right? That's what that's telling me. What about the daily candles or the minute candles? Right, they discount this price, some lower, and then right here you can see steady shares traded in this range. Right, in this range, they bought all those shares back. Right, all those shares back. Spent 10 minutes, 15 minutes selling it down, dropping it drastically, and then bought all those shares back at a discounted price, and then actually pressed the buy algo and rallied it. Like, where are we at from the low? Nearly 18% right here. Actually, we're higher than that already. It already recovered 19%. They bought all those shares at a discount price. That's fuckery. If the war does not escalate, this was a huge shakeout. They capitulated retail, and then Wall Street bought the dip. How about Doge? Daily demand zone. 61% retracement. So what that's telling me is that made me believe that this is a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 5-wave structure. And if we take this pivot high to this pivot low, right? 61% retracement. So what that could be, possibly. Does that look like an ABC correction? It does. Does this look overextended? It does, right? Daily demand zone. I had this little level. I honestly don't remember why I made this, but I said break under this is very unlikely. We tripped it and then massive bottom of candle. Like there was so much buy demand from a low of 13 all the way to 15.3, a 17% range of people saying, nope, I'll take this price. Absolutely. What happened here? Same thing. A little dip and then a rip. Is the volume bar abnormal? Hell no. Look at that. It's an average volume bar for the last month and a half, right? Were they really trying to get out, or was that a shakeout? Looks like manipulation. Looks like fuckery. Look at minute candles. Same thing, right? Discounted on low volume, bought all that shit back up, right? What about the ADL line? What happened here? Currently have more shares here than this pivot high of 19 cents, nearly 20 cents. Pretty sure it's like a 25% discount, 19.8, 26% discount, right? If they were trying to get out, they would have sold. They would have unloaded more shares. They wouldn't have accumulated. They would have said, nope, I need to get out. No, they discounted price and now they're buying. That's why this is going higher, right? Now, if they were to go back up to this, right? And let's say that remember this entire drop is through a catalyst. If that catalyst gets nullified, price reappropriates. It'll revalue itself because the risk went away. But if they were to press the buy algo, right, for them to get back to this level of 20 cents, they would buy literally way more shares. This ADL line would skyrocket, right? I would honestly say that before it stopped, it would be kind of like this. We'd hit some kind of resistance here around 26 billion, right? SHIB, with these more volatile, like I didn't make all the little minor buy zones. I mean, it's hard to anticipate a fucking war happening and everything crashing 40%. That's very unusual. So I had these worst case scenarios, but where did we land? This demand zone, right? Where do we land? 100-day moving average. Does this look like an ABC? It does. Does the C wave look like an ABC? It does. Do we have a bottom? It does. Is the volume bar abnormal? No, not really, right? Right? If they wanted to get out, the volume candles would have looked like this, right? It would have looked like this, right? Like, let me show you an example. Let's look at this, right? Well, these daily candles, this is people getting out. What's the volume? Is that abnormal? Are all these abnormal? Absolutely, right? Look at that. This is let me get the fuck out. When COVID happened, right? You see that? That's abnormal, right? Like if we looked at it, because like this is what it was, right? Crypto, we're looking like a month back. How abnormal is that versus this? This is 2 to 3 times the daily volume traded, right? Let's look at specific stocks. Let's look at Tesla during that time, right? Was this abnormal volume? Not really, right? It was a secret, right? That was a secret. It was not abnormal. Did they discount the price? Hell yeah, they did, right? They dropped the price from a high to a low of 60%. But this kind of told you, right? If they were trying to get out, it would have been high volume, right? Like this. This said is they didn't want it to go higher than this. Massive sell volume. So what did Tesla do after? Way higher, right? So what else we got? Where do we land? In the demand zone. How about the ADL line? Triple bottom, right? Triple bottom. Now we're going higher. Currently, we're about the same amount of shares at this pivot low of 2635. How far is that away? 18%. They discount the prices, right? Volume bar is not abnormal. Find support at the 100. Algos looks beautiful too, to be honest. I thought we would find support at this demand zone. No, we broke through it. I thought that this was an ABC. We'd be fine. Nope. But this is definitely an ABC. A, B, C. Is the C wave an ABC? Yep, it is. Worst case scenario of a drop. Where are we at? Weekly demand zone, right? Weekly demand zone. How about the volume bar? That's pretty extended. It's not abnormal for over here, but it's abnormal for here. But what kind of drop was that? 38%, right? And even though this is an abnormal volume bar, let's break it down. Oh, well, that makes sense. Half the volume is in this bar right here. Half the volume is in this bar right here. And when someone tried to sell, someone bought it up. Even though it's a massive volume bar, did it even move? Look how small that candle is. No, somebody gobbled those shares up and said, I'll take those, right? All this drop, this big volume candle right here is the only one, right? Most of the volume didn't increase till we got lower, right? Price was already down 9% before volume started coming in. Then we got lower, and then the volume really started coming in about sideways at 11% discount. Then we traded this sideways and bought all those shares back, right? Because if they were unloading, they would have broken. It would have kept doing a downtrend. Sideways means buy side imbalance. They bought all the shares back, right? Bought all the shares back. What are we at right now? 21% from the lows. They bought all those shares back. Manipulation, right? In my opinion, this is pretty clean too. I thought this is a wave 1, 2, and then this is an extended wave 3, and then this is wave 1 and wave 3, and it really does look like that. Look at something else. A couple bullishnesses. This pivot low, So if this is an extended wave 3 and this is wave 2, which is what I have mapped out here, the rule is wave 2 cannot extend past wave 1, right? What happened? The low of wave 1 is 14.84, right? The low right here. 14.84. What's the low here? 14.84. That, sorry, 0.1484. That is a double bottom. The bears were 1 penny away from invalidating this as a bull thesis, and they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. They didn't get to invalidate it. What this did is this actually justified this thesis. This is probably the cleanest justification of a thesis. You know, if we were active and we were ready for this, we could have literally had a 1 penny risk. Not even a 1 penny risk, like a 0.01 risk, right? Right? Less than a penny risk, right? For a wave 3, right? Wave 3 that takes us to 56 cents. From 14 cents to 56. This is probably going. You know, you had to risk the ability to risk less than 1%. Less than 1% to make 300%. That's what this shows me. It really does. What about the ADL line? Like I pointed this out, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't trend over here and this double bottoms or triple bottoms. This ascending support being the uptrend. As long as we support this, then that tells us the uptrend of accumulation, the shares being bought, is still up. And I would feel pretty confident if that happens. Now let's say that the share accumulation doesn't go higher and we go sideways from here. What that tells us, that gives us a deadline of like next Tuesday, the 23rd. Not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, right? If it was just sideways. So could there be fuckery for another week? Yeah, it could, right? We also defended this little demand zone. Can even call it a double bottom, right? This looks like fuckery, dude. It really does. They bought them all at a discount price. And so that's all of crypto. You know, right now, the way the charts look, it looks like market manipulation. They fucked us. They got us good, right? But this looks damning, right? What's happening right now? Look at this. Everything's, you know, the panic's going away and people are starting to buy back in. That's what that looks like to me. You know, Bitcoin never even got invalidated. Now, you know, if the war continues and it gets worse, they could do it. They could still discount the price, like COVID type shit. You know what I mean? They could. But right now, everything fell into an important level, right? Everything fell into an important level. The volume didn't look like distribution, right? The ADL line is showing accumulation. This looks like robbery. That's what it looks like. So that's what I have. Like I said, I would buy every 10% drop. Like if you guys bought yesterday, you guys are sitting like kings because everything's up handsomely from even like the average like conservative levels I gave. But even if we were to go lower, it's like if you had the funds, every 10% drop, add 10%. You know, because this isn't the end of the cycle unless Bitcoin starts getting under 59.8. But the fact that all of this was happening, the world was ending, Bitcoin couldn't even do that. So we'll see what this week brings us. You know, maybe, you know, best case scenario would be funny is like the drama literally gets nullified and crypto is literally up 30% today. And then the market doesn't even bleed tomorrow. That would be amazing. Could happen. But, you know, countries move slow, so it's hard to say that that will happen. But that's all. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully you guys have a little bit of comfort and cheers.